moved back to Wisconsin in about 2015, and I worked for a couple of talent agencies here. And then I broke off myself and started my own casting company, Joseph Scout Casting. And so I'm heavily involved on the political side of entertainment in Wisconsin as well. I was on the Film Wisconsin board for until just recently when I started with OpenSea. So we'll get to that. But I was on the Film Wisconsin board, and I was a really big advocate for bringing film tax incentives back to the state of Wisconsin. For those of you that may remember, we actually had some film tax incentives on the books in the late 2000s, and that's why like Johnny Depp came here and filmed his movie Public Enemies, and I think there was a scene shot here for Transformers, like 3 or 4, like the villain, the museum in Milwaukee was turned into like his headquarters. And so the reason all of these things happen is because of film tax incentives. We are now living in a world where without film tax incentives, you just are not going to get productions coming back to your state. So to make a long story short regarding that, a really good experience on the East Coast, which also went in Ohio, where I saw these really healthy film tax incentive programs taking place and seeing how they were kind of revitalizing the economy in this totally new sort of sector. And I really wanted to bring that back to Wisconsin. So when I came back in 2015, that was the journey, that was the path that I headed down. And I learned over the years that, the people at the top just don't want to continue going in that direction. The reason I tell you this whole story, though, is because when I joined the crypto space in 2017 at the end of 2017, I think I actually bought my first crypto kitty, which is an NFT, a non-fungible token, kind of the first, game or collectible to really break the space open and mainstream attention, got my attention. And when I first bought that, I think it was like maybe January 1st, 2018. So I entered the space, like I said, with the last bull run and with the development of non-fungible tokens, idea of digital collectibles or digital assets really, really piqued my attention. I have been a long collector of sorts, of physical. Like I collected cards. I collected like Tamagotchis. Like for some reason, I had to have every Tamagotchi and every Beanie Baby and even Furbies. And I remember even being little and like collecting like lip smackers and just like weird things. I've always been a collector, always been an antiquer, a treasure hunter. These always piqued my interest. So when I learned that there's this new realm of collectability taking place online, that really piqued my interest. And then when I learned that after playing CryptoKitties for about a month or two, I learned that I could feel equally passionate about my digital collectibles as I did my physical collectibles. And then that excited me even more because in my adulthood, I've sort of transitioned into more of a life of minimalism. So like I don't have a lot of physical things anymore, period. I don't like clutter. I'm the kind of person who needs to clean my whole bedroom before like I can start working or start my day. So like having less physically felt really good, but I could still get, scratch that itch, collectibles with, this new world that was emerging. So I, like I said, I really got kicking in the beginning of, 2018. As you can see here, here's my Twitter that I created specifically for interacting with the crypto world and NFT world and blockchain world. I joined February 2018. For those of you that are totally unfamiliar with what we're talking about, just like a general response in the text chat in general, like are many of you familiar with CryptoKitties? Or is that really new to everyone as well?
I actually own a few.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, most people in this space are familiar with CryptoKitties, right? Like I said, it got this mainstream attention. It really kind of broke the door open. It attracted people like me, but the problem, we soon learned there was a lot of problems with CryptoKitties. One, the breeding system was out of control. It's really unlimited. So in CryptoKitties, you breed cats together to create rarer cats, essentially, and they're collectibles. And while the time to breed your cats together might take longer, inevitably there is no cap to breeding your cat. And what they saw was this huge explosion of CryptoKitties being born that essentially, destroyed the entire economy of the game within about 3 or 4 months. Then to add to their list of problems, they didn't have any utility. They were kind of just this cat that sat around in your account, and they were cool, and some were rarer than others, and this and that, but ultimately they really didn't have any utility. And just to express how clearly how entrenched I was with CryptoKitties, I started making content for them and doing streams and all of this, which you can see on my YouTube page. If you want to look up Cloudwhite Ventures, I can actually share this link in the general chat. This is my YouTube page. So I started streaming on here, and I did some early like CryptoKitties streams down here. This Cloudwhite Kitties Live, but Cloudwhite itself is actually the name of a body color of cats, and you can even see here like my social icon on my Twitter page, my little avatar. The eyes are actually CryptoKitty eyes. So, for the untrained eye, these are all key, these are all little clues that this is what kind of brought me into the space, right? And so what happened was I ended up becoming really discouraged with CryptoKitties because of all of these kind of faults that were unintentional, but ended up being faults of the platform itself. Also, the team, like I became really disappointed with the team, and I felt they weren't doing all they could. They became more concentrated on development of other projects. Like right now, the team that built out CryptoKitties, their new big project is like NBA Top Shots. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with that, but it's an NBA officially licensed digital collectible, kind of like the future of basketball cards on the blockchain. So it was clear that their attention was really getting pushed more into this direction, and they abandoned CryptoKitties. Now, what's cool and what came out of this is Axie Infinity, a lot of the team members all met in the CryptoKitties community. So, like the community lead from Axie Infinity, the CEO, like the Trung, the guy who like invented the whole thing, Masamoon, all of these people met from around the world in the CryptoKitties Discord, and they were like, "We're going to start our own game." And then that's when they came up with the idea for Axie Infinity. So I'll bring that up for you guys. And this is going to be a big part of my conversation because this is where I've spent a lot of time over the last 2 years. So to go to Axie Infinity, there was a couple of things that really changed the game as far as Axie being just being more thought out. One of the things they instantly went and did was they put a cap on their breeding capacity. So let me see here. So you see these are my Axie in my account here, and you'll see underneath the information there's a breed count. Each Axie can only ever be bred 7 times total. So that instantly puts a cap on the ability of breeding. Then what Axie Infinity did last year is they really changed the game when they introduced their first kind of play to earn token, which is called a small love potion. So this is a a token that you earn through playing the game. Axie Infinity has a like a mobile beta app, or yeah, like a mobile app that's not fully finished. I'm not a technical guy, that you can actually play on. And you can, when you win battles, you can win these small love potion tokens. And these small love potion tokens are actually now used for breeding. You have to earn these tokens in order to Sorry, I'm just looking for an article on Small Love Potion. Regardless, you earn these tokens through playing the game, and then you can breed with them, or you can exchange them on a market just like you would any other altcoin. And what was cool was they actually started some people in the Philippines actually really took to this. And this community in the Philippines started playing Axie Infinity in order to literally put food on their tables. So I'll get back to this, but I would say the biggest game changer that Axie Infinity has brought to this entire space is this idea of play to earn, right? This idea that you can play a video game and literally earn money that then puts, food on the dinner table. And I'll share this article here with you guys in general about how this took place in the Philippines. Put that into general. And a little side note, my one of my videos was actually something that sort of started this movement. So here they're interviewing a guy in the Philippines that started, and he says he stumbled across an explainer video on YouTube. Intrigued by the play to earn element of the game, he decided to give it a go. So if you click that link, it's actually a video that I created earlier this in February 2020. So like that was just really, I mean, it was just a crazy sequence of events. But getting back to this, I fell into the Axie Infinity scene, and I really saw a big difference in the team and where they were trying to go with things and what they were trying to create. And I really believe that Axie Infinity will be the NFT kind of, blockchain game that pushes this format into the mainstream. And we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics about Axie Infinity, and I'm always more than happy to answer any specific questions regarding Axie Infinity. But getting back to my kind of journey here, I actually did this interview with Axie Infinity. It's a player spotlight. I'll share this in the Discord as well. And it kind of goes over my journey the last 3 years in this space. So the way that I separated myself in this space, because I'm not a tech guru, I'm not like some financial genius or anything like that, is I decided to latch on to creative content to help further the space. And so one of the first really big things that I did outside of my live streams was a project called Axie Infinity the Musical. I created this Axie Infinity rap musical about it tells sort of this love story about Axie Infinity, and then that provided kind of a lot of really early exposure for the game to get further investments, to help further development of the game. And another thing that I did really early on, um, which ties into a project that I'm currently working on, is I was one of the well, if I can get this shit to load. I was one of, or I was not one of, I was the first person to ever get a Axie Infinity tattoo. So let me see if I can find this here. So I got this tattoo. Uh, you can see it right here. And this is the world's first Axie Infinity tattoo. I know it's taking a minute to load. But then what the team did is they took this and they took kind of all this content that I was creating on YouTube and pasting all over the internet, and they would literally take this stuff to like board meetings to like help pitch the dedication of the community to these potential investors. So at any rate, without getting too far off track, at the beginning of the year, my casting business really just went to shit. With COVID, all film and video production just totally came to a halt. Every job I had planned for the summer was canceled. And I was left with more time to start exploring the NFT space. And so I started beefing up my I started beefing up my YouTube account, which I had explained to you earlier, and I started kind of doing all these weird experimental NFT videos. And I was like, oh, maybe it'll be cool to become like part of the partner program for with YouTube, and I can just make YouTube videos. So like I said, if anyone's interested, I got all kinds of weird stuff on here. Like this one, I don't know if anyone heard of egirl.gg that came out during the beginning of the year, but you could like rent e-girls to play video games with. So it was a bit of a stunt. I did that and I played Axie Infinity with this girl. And so I got all these kind of weird, eccentric things that I did. Then during the middle of the year, something really interesting happened where this program called Niftex, or this platform called Niftex, came out. And what Niftex does is they take NFTs, digital assets, and they fractionalize them into shards so that ownership of the asset can be divided amongst, countless amounts of people, and it can trade on platforms such as Uniswap and so on and so forth. And I came up with this idea that I wanted to fractionalize an Axie that I would then turn into sort of like a meme campaign. Like how often can I get this Axie to show up in sort of the culture of the space? So I took this what is a relatively normal Axie, and I fractionalized it into 10,000 shards. And what I said was, anyone in the community that wants to make a piece of artwork that includes this Axie in their artwork, I will then give them a piece of the Axie so they can share in ownership of the Axie. And this experiment ended up blowing up. It did really well. So there's a couple of different articles written on this, but I will share the first one with you here. And the artwork that came out of it, I hope you can all see my screen, was really phenomenal. There was like just all kinds of stuff that popped up with this Axie, and it really created a lot of conversation. Even the name Cocaine Cowboy and Coke is kind of controversial, but for me, it sort of tied into this addiction to NFTs that I was personally dealing with, that I know others were feeling. And so this piece I felt like spoke to that a lot. And this piece by New is just absolutely stunning. And what was more miraculous is what we did is we proved that you can create value through culture, because the shards ended up getting listed on CoinGecko, and they just absolutely exploded. So I think,
So, Cloudwhite, I would like
yeah,
to interrupt you just real quick.
yeah,
There's a really bad echo. I'm not sure if maybe if there's like a mic that you can switch off or something like
yeah.
that. But if,
Has it been bad this whole time?
just in the last, I think, 10 minutes.
How? Okay, are we better?
No.
Okay, give me 1 second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, James. It's better.
No, the echo came back.
What the hell? What the hell? I told you. Everyone can do this shit. All right. Is it better now?
No, in the bottom left of Discord, there's a little noise suppression button. Maybe we could click that and see if it helps.
Noise.
It's right above screen.
Ah. Okay. Test.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Test. Check. Check.
Sounds good.
Still a bad echo, huh?
No? I thought it sounded good.
Okay. All right. We're good to go?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, like I said, so Cocaine Cowboy got listed on CoinGecko, and it just absolutely exploded. At one point, I don't even know if it shows on this graph here, but at one point it was up to $23 a shard. I think the entire asset was valued at about 240,000. Maybe it even has on here. Yeah. So the all-time high was 2283 per shard, which is just it was just absolutely ridiculous how it kind of caught on in this viral way. And so that was just a really unique experiment showing how you can create value through culture that I had held. Then most recently, I also did another project inspired by this Coke project where I took the Axie, which considering we're in Wisconsin, I'll point this out. So I named the token Cream after Cream City Brick. The Axie that I got tattooed on my back here is the first Axie to actually be colored this sort of cream color, and that's how I decided to get it put on my back. I wanted to have some kind of personal connection to it. And so in this article that I will share in the Discord, I kind of talk about how I rationalized getting this tattoo and the personal reasons that came with it. And I turned Cream City Brick, the Axie, into a fractionalized pieces to give away as this sort of Axie Infinity tattoo scholarship program, which is like this really far out idea, but it's kind of taken off in a weird way. We actually have had multiple people now get Axie Infinity tattoos, which I hope you can see on my screen. Here's some examples in exchange for this cream token. Now, on the liquidity pool, if you're gifted this cream, which is the only way to receive this cream token, it's valued at about $250 to $280. So it's a pretty nice reward. But in short, what we created through this experiment, like I said, is an Axie Infinity tattoo scholarship or reward program. At any rate, really far out there stuff. So those are some of the personal projects I've worked on. I even took my film skills and I brought them to Rarible, where there's all kinds of platforms popping up, which I do want to talk about my journey into OpenSea, but there's all kind of platforms popped up where you can now mint your own NFTs. And so I've taken 8 and 16 millimeter film and digitally transferred them into these NFTs for sale. So that's another project that I was exploring myself. That said, let's move over here really quick because I would like to get back to Axie Infinity as an overall discussion. So as I mentioned earlier, Small Love Potions came to the scene, and it really created this opportunity for true play to earn potential, right? So you play this game, you earn these SLP tokens, you can use them for breeding if you want, which solves the big portion of the breeding problem that CryptoKitties faced. Or you can swap them on an exchange like Uniswap for ETH and then, pay your bills, eat your food. But what's really cool about Axie Infinity is they recently introduced a new token, a governance token for the game. It's called AXS. Now, this is going to literally act as, governance. It's called Axie Infinity Shards for the entire community, and it's really going to be the backbone of creating a true play to earn economy, where we very much see a future where players and users aren't just players and users, but they're owners and earners, right? So the way that this is going to really come into play in a big way is through their land. Through their land, I guess, universe. We'll call it a metaverse, right? So this is a big part of NFTs and crypto that is really we're just at the tip of the iceberg with this. There's been other platforms like Decentraland. Most recently, there's the Sandbox. There's Crypto Voxels. There's all these sorts of metaverses coming to life now in the NFT space, where we're going to kind of live inside of these digital worlds. And so let's see here if I can go back to my account. So in, I think it was early 2000, the end of 2018 or 2019, Axie Infinity had their first land sale. So this here, what you're looking at on my screen is the map of Lunatia. And you'll see that it's kind of like, I can't zoom out any further, but you'll see this is the map, and you'll see these little pixels. And these little pixels are the size of the land, and the gray ones are the ones that I own. So in 2000, at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, this first quadrant was sold. There was a land sale where you could buy the land and prepare for this new kind of I guess play to earn experience that was going to take place. But they only sold this first quadrant. So there's still 3 quadrant sales left to take place that the game hasn't done. So if anyone's interested in looking into or getting involved with Axie Infinity, we are still very much at the beginning here. Now, some people are a little bit down on this because if you start looking at prices, you'll see that like this yellow land, orange land, for instance, originally cost 0.05 Ethereum per plot. And at today's prices, this is the floor right now, 0.2163, which in fiat right now is, about $232 a plot. And that floor price quickly is destroyed. I think maybe by the second page, it gets to 0.5. Yeah. So 0.5 has now been the new norm for Axieland floor prices. And yeah, there's about 2 pages before you hit the 0.5 floor here of land for sale in the current market. So, newcomers are sort of getting a little bit frustrated because they feel like they're late to the game, but really you're not, because they still have 3 more quadrants of land to sell, and they're not even going to sell those until land play is officially out. So they had their first experience with like a land play demo. Let's see if I can find you guys like a little bit of what that looked like. So this actually just recently took place. There was a Axie Infinity land demo where landholders were able to log into the app and kind of populate their plot with their items and walk around and sort of interact with other people. It was sort of a very rudimentary kind of like experience. There wasn't a lot to it, but we did get our first taste of what this experience is going to look like. There's also going to be, and this is a little bit of a side note, there's going to be an SDK where you're going to be able to build new experiences on top of your land. So going back to the play to earn thing, like I was talking about with the AXS token, people, you're going to be able to play within Lunatia even if you don't own land yourself. You're still going to be able to walk around, and you're going to be able to rent land from other players. Now, this is the thing that was originally mentioned to me that got me extremely interested. To do a little math, there's like 90,000 plots in all of Lunatia. So on this entire map here, there's only 90,000 plots available for land. And that is not including some of these other areas. Like you see this blue here, this represents a river. And so that is included in the 90,000, but it's not like this is land that you can own. So once you do the real math, there's only like 63,000 available plots that you can that players have the potential to own, I guess I should say. And what makes that interesting is we've seen the Axie Infinity user base grow from about 5,000 players in active wallets to about 30,000 players in active wallets in the last 6 months alone. So what Axie is doing is they're building out this universe where as a landholder, I'll be able to rent out my land and essentially generate passive income from the resources and the access that are collected on my land. Or I'll be able to rent it out directly to other players in order, for them to reap all the resources that they can obtain by themselves. And this is something that has, personally really kept me invested in the game. That idea alone, that I can essentially generate passive income through other players using my assets in this video game. There's also a new platform coming out called Axie Tree. So a lot of people realized when they were trying to get into Axie Infinity that even to buy 3 of the cheapest floor Axies was relatively expensive. And so all of these sort of scholarship programs started popping up where people would loan out their Axies in return for a certain percentage cut of their SLP tokens they were earning through the play to earn system. And now this is a platform that literally is just about to launch. I believe it's an alpha where you're going to be able to put up your Axie or your assets for rent to other players in return for either a certain specific payment or a certain percentage of their earnings. So once again, really, we're still really, really early to everything that's happening here. And things have only continued to go up. Now, this isn't something I normally typically share with people, but like I said, you guys are like family, you're all from home. Just to kind of put a little emphasis on how much I believe in this game, I currently own 639 plots on this profile. But total, I own 644 plots in Lunatia, and I'm the 5th largest overall landowner in the entire game. So I really, it looks like a genius move now, but when I made this investment 2 years ago, there was big question marks, lingering over it. But I'm happy to say it looks like I'm coming out on the brighter side of things. So then I had all these experiments taking place with Axie Infinity and all of this kind of content creation going on over the year. And literally just last month, I through Garrett, who's another member of our blockchain community here in Wisconsin, he was working part-time for OpenSea at the time. And he asked if he said he was going to be leaving to work on one of his own projects. And he asked if I wanted to interview. And I interviewed with the OpenSea team. And I literally started as their community manager on I guess today is my first official day on the job as community manager. I had a test period and so on and so forth. But today is my first day as community manager with OpenSea. And so what is OpenSea? OpenSea is the largest marketplace for rare items. The best way to think about OpenSea is like the eBay of the NFT world. You can come here and you can buy, sell, and trade all different types of NFTs. So I've only highlighted, CryptoKitties and Axie Infinity so far. But if you see here on the left-hand side, there's all these different NFT kind of experiences that have been built on the Ethereum blockchain, and OpenSea is a destination where you can buy, sell, and trade all of these various assets. So if you're just entering the world of NFTs, OpenSea is actually kind of a great place to start because you're going to get exposure to all the various types of NFTs that are out there in the world. Like a big one right now that everyone is buying and selling and speculating on is ENS domains, which is basically like domain names for your, for your wallet address. And so there's a lot of that kind of trading that goes on. Then let's see here, like here's Decentraland. Like I said, this is another metaverse kind of like, virtual world where you can, own property and build experiences on top of that property. Super Rare is a NFT art marketplace. It's probably one of the more widely respected platforms by artists right now. And what they do is they allow artists to create, digital artworks and mint them on the blockchain. And so this was also another big thing that we saw take place this year, where you see a lot of artists moved into this space because a lot of money was being thrown at big artists that came on the scene. Some of you might know the graphic designer or the artist Beeple. I believe he's out of North Carolina. He does a thing on Instagram where he posts a new piece of artwork every day. And I believe just a couple weekends ago, he did a sale on a platform called Nifty Gateway. And I believe he made like $3 million in just one weekend selling digital, NFT artwork on the blockchain. So the reason I think this is really cool, and I started taking advantage of it myself here, is because until now, there was no way to really securely and safely sell digital artwork online. When I buy a piece of artwork now from an artist in the form of NFT, I can verify my ownership of that asset using the blockchain. So I think this has been a really big, explosive kind of time for this space, but it will only ultimately continue to grow bigger as more artists and creators start moving into this realm. Which actually brings me to something that I would like to share with you all. It's actually OpenSea, their latest feature. They just introduced a collection manager where you can do what we're calling lazy minting. So what this means is you can create a collection for basically the price of one transaction. You just have to run a transaction to connect your wallet to the OpenSea platform. But after you've done that one transaction, you can now lazy mint NFTs on the blockchain for free. And what this means is you basically create the item, but then it's not fully tokenized or turned into an NFT until it's either transferred to a new wallet or someone purchases that. So it allows creators to essentially mint for free and in some ways, unfortunately, pass that gas transaction on to the buyer, but it's something that they would have to essentially do anyway, to confirm the transaction of buying the piece in the first place. So this has been a really big step forward for this space. And basically all I've been doing the last 2 weeks is verifying new collections on OpenSea, especially with all these high gas prices we've been seeing. It's become a really smart place to pivot to as an NFT creator, because you don't have to pay to mint every piece yourself. So this has been a really big deal, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this article into the Discord as well. That said, James, is it possible to maybe open up for some questions? I'm happy to answer any kind of questions anyone might have.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The minting thing is really cool, by the way. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Like I said, it's just a really great opportunity for people to not get raped on all these gas prices that have been going crazy in the last couple of weeks. Looks like we got a question coming in from Buy Homes. Best place to mint NFTs, what are costs? Okay, so yeah, kind of going back to what I just said, especially with today's high prices and, being a little bit biased now being on the OpenSea team, I would recommend checking out OpenSea first, just because you can experiment with what the market is going to be like for you on the selling side. So then after we get people set up, that's one of the other larger questions that people come back to us with. Like, okay, like I now have digital assets on, ready to be sold. How do I sell them? Who's buying these things? And then, unfortunately, the reality is that just comes back to personal marketing decision and ways that you expose yourself and your work, So that said, without having to spend too much money, OpenSea is going to hands down be the best place for you to create your first collection, experience what it's like to have these assets on the blockchain and try to sell them. Your only cost that you're going to run into is one transaction, one ETH, gas transaction for setting up your OpenSea account, and then another ETH gas transaction when you are establishing your new collection. But then you are free to list as many items as you want, free of cost, which is really the huge game changer here that we're talking about. If you're going to be on Rarible or Known Origin or Super Rare or Maker's Place, which are all, they're all really great formats in their own respect as well. the big key difference here is you have, when you're placing a new item for sale, to mint, you have to mint it in that moment. You're not lazy minting it, as we like to say, with OpenSea. On OpenSea, will we be seeing enhancements to search functionality? For example, it would be really hard to search through unstoppable domains using subcategory filters. Yes. So regarding, the filter system on OpenSea, we've definitely been gathering a lot of feedback regarding that. And I know that, certain new categorization and new filter abilities are in the works. I can't for the life of me get into voice meetup. Oh, someone just said that in general. Did anyone else have any questions? If anyone, decides they want to get into the NFT space and even has maybe have questions later, feel free to reach out. If it's anything pertaining to crypto art, Axie Infinity, or OpenSea, I feel pretty strongly that I will be able to point you in the right direction.
Does anybody else have questions? Well, if not, it was great having you, Cloudwhite. That was
looks like a couple more coming in here. And actually, I would say, kind of on a final note, for those of you that have been curious about the NFT space, I hope the point that I've made today is we've kind of come leaps and bounds from then. But that's not to say that there's not a lot of work to be done. But I find that personally exciting because that puts us on the ground floor, of this entire industry. What's the best place to reach you? You can hit me up on Twitter. You can contact me on Discord. I basically live in the OpenSea Discord now, so if you're ever there, feel free to come hang out. But I would say Discord or Twitter will be the best to contact me. Any investment ideas if I wanted to spend a couple hundred for artistic speculation, maybe a 5-year hold? Yeah, buy homes. If you want to, I don't want to give out real, financial advice or anything, but I can definitely point you in the direction of artists that are considered hot and that should sustain value, if not grow in value as time goes on.
I got a question.
Yep.
I'm new to the art thing. What types of things are popular and why, would you say?
It's a good question. I mean, it's the same question, like what kind of popular things are, popular in the art world. I don't think there's any ever really good answer other than there's been a few artists such as like Hackatao and Pac and X Copy. These are all artists that got into the art space like when this whole space started, so like in 2017, and they've been just marketing and selling and growing, seeing appreciation with their assets over the last 3 years. So they've kind of grown their art careers in the same way that any other traditional artist would have to. The key difference being they're obviously selling their work on the blockchain as opposed to a canvas at a local, art fair or what have you. I don't think there's any good reason why some people are selling than others, especially if you look at the work of like Pac. Let me just bring him up really quick. He's kind of one of these artists that if you just looked at his shit, in a museum, you'd be like, oh, I can do that. What's so great? And here he is, selling pieces for crazy amounts of money. For instance, he sold a one red pixel. Let's see if I can actually bring him up on super rare. He sold a red pixel on super rare to the Museum of Crypto Art, and I think he sold it for like $7,300. So, to go back to your question, what makes a red pixel worth 73? Here it is. What makes this red pixel worth? There it is. Actually, I don't know if you can see it on my screen. There it is, the one red pixel. What makes that worth? Here it is. Yeah. 29.162 ETH, $7,100. I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Other than someone else was willing to pay it. So super interesting. Does that answer your question? Kind of.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say regarding the crypto art world that is a little bit misleading as far as these big sales are concerned is, like I said, you know, the museum, MoCA, Museum of Crypto Art, is actually, you know, the person that bought this. And Museum of Crypto Art is one of the largest buyers by far of crypto art. I would say the higher sales that take place probably take place with about a categorization of, I'd say, 10 or so different whales. So it's sort of like it's this booming market, but also it's kind of misleading because when it's only a couple of people making these ridiculous purchases at these crazy prices, it really is, you know, a bit misleading to, you know, the whole overall market. And actually, I'm seeing here now on my screen, I should show you all of this. So I actually got really motivated by the crypto art scene. I started my own crypto art gallery. It's called the Tiny Crypto Art Gallery. And it's like a poor man's version of what all these rich people were doing, because I wanted to show that, you know, there's still value in lesser, you know, priced artwork and assets. And actually the plot that I bought into Decentraland is directly across the street from both Known Origin and Super Rare in Decentraland. That gallery is actually currently being built by an architect in South Carolina. You know, built, by built I mean designed, in Decentraland, and that's currently taking place. We hope to have the gallery launched in the next month or two. But yeah, you know, that's crypto art for you. Let me see here. Any investment ideas? Okay, yes. Any thoughts on astronaut NFT? Award-winning NFT artwork exhibited on giant billboard. Well, this would be new to me. See, there's always something new happening here. I don't know this artist personally, but there he is. Let's see. How are .eth domains sells versus .crypto domains on OpenSea? Cool. So yeah, if you ever want to go on OpenSea and check out the rankings about, you know, how things are selling, we have a rankings tab here, and you can search by various categories and so on and so forth. But here's the Ethereum name service. I would definitely say that that is the most popular place to buy and sell them. I don't know the specifics about the .eth and the .crypto, the difference in sales values, but if you check out the rankings, you might be able to also see like recently sold, so you can kind of see which addresses here are being sold. So here the last one was .eth. These look all like .eth to me. So right out the gate, I would say it looks like .eth is much more coveted at the moment. 7,300 red pixel, LOL, exactly. Is there any indication this art will act as a store of value, or is it equally volatile as crypto in general? Meaning, is it more stable and less volatile? Well, I mean, that's kind of there's a lot of layers to an answer to a question like that, because, you know, these prices, like I said, are tied to crypto still. So like, for instance, when the Museum of Crypto Art bought this piece from POC for 29 ETH, that was only $7,000 at the time, and now that's like $29,000. And I would say that definitely, since we've seen the price of Ethereum go up, we've seen a decline in crypto art sales. Now, that could also be because of other factors, like, are people just not wanting to pay the gas to mint or pay the gas to buy? So, you know, as far as volatility as the crypto art market is concerned, there's just unfortunately all these other factors that are tied to that make it sort of difficult to make a judgment on that. Brooks Boyd, this art being crypto art will likely be just as volatile as traditional art based on popularity, desirability, skill of artists. But one benefit of crypto art over standard art is its proven provenance. Exactly. So slightly less volatile since counterfeits are hard to pull off. So actually, good noting the counterfeits. You know, that is definitely still an issue that I have personally been having to deal with the last couple of weeks. So we'll have people that create collections using the new OpenSea collection manager, and they'll just blatantly try to be selling known pieces of artwork off as their own. So we're actually still kind of dealing with counterfeits and so on and so forth in a totally new capacity. That said, if you know the store is verified by that creator and known to be an asset of that, Brooks is 100% correct. You know, this adds a whole new security to the art market that didn't exist before. You know, imitations throughout and fakes, counterfeits throughout the art market is a huge problem that the industry has been trying to solve, obviously, since the beginning of art sales. And so blockchain will hopefully pave a way to prove this provenance and, you know, true ownership. Questions as you can mint multiple copies of same artwork. How does it store value? Okay, so just because you're minting multiple copies of the same artwork, 9 out of 10 times, it's not like they're mint, you know, artists that mint on multiple platforms the same exact piece. Obviously, that's high, you know, I would discourage against that. I would not recommend an artist to be deceitful in that way. But yes, you can create multiple copies when minting a single piece on a platform. So, like, you know, an artist might mint 10 or 20 copies, but really think of that as prints. You know, like when you go to buy a lithograph or a print from an artist, a physical print, that it's not like, you know, there's copies in that situation as well. So I really think of it of copies of the same work in terms of how an artist would think of prints in the physical art world. I hope that makes sense. Brooks, on some platforms like Makerspace, the artist can create multiple editions of the same artwork. Yes, exactly. So they call them editions. We at OpenSea call them copies. Copies is technically the right term, even though I think edition sounds better, but it is a copy that is taking place. Looks like we got a couple more questions flying in. Are any of the bigger gaming companies showing any interest in NFTs, accepting possibly CS:GO, which I think has an NFT market? I don't know what that is, but absolutely. Ubisoft is in partnership with Axie Infinity as we speak. So, like, I really think it will be interesting if we see Ubisoft pivot into the blockchain space, and Atari actually just launched their first blockchain NFT project. So we are seeing some traditional gaming companies come into play. That said, I want to thank you so much for that question, because it reminds me of a story that I forgot that I wanted to start with, which is when I got into this space and I was messing around with CryptoKitties and I just gotten into Axie Infinity. I actually went to a Madison Video Games Alliance conference. So if you guys remember in the beginning of our conversation, I was talking about film tax incentives. One thing about film tax incentives, which is interesting, is in Wisconsin, we also included the video game sector under this same program. So that's when we saw companies like Raven popping up in the Madison area, and why we have all of these sort of like smaller gaming companies as well throughout the Madison area. It's because they were all, you know, financially incentivized to do so through the film tax incentives, which maybe an entertainment tax incentives is a better word for that. But at any rate, I knew that we had this video game alliance in the Madison area because I, you know, was doing all this film tax incentive research. And so I went to a gathering for this, and I was trying to explain this entire space to everyone there, and I was all but laughed out of the room, which, you know, left kind of a sour taste in my mouth. But I have a feeling that we will start seeing many more game companies pivot to these models because it's going to be a big deal. Any other tradable NFT related tokens that look sustainable? So, you know, once again, I don't want to provide really any sort of financial advice, but are you talking about like how I was talking about Access and SLP? There's also Sand, which is part of the Sandbox world. There's Mana, which is attached to Decentraland. So there's a couple more out there, but honestly, if you're going to be looking at something, I would say right now, because people don't understand the function of Access, the Axie Infinity shards, those are terribly undervalued right now. And as soon as we see the staking ability put into play with that within the next couple of months, I could easily see that mooning. Not financial advice is right, but even if I was saying, if you were looking at Axie Infinity or in this space and wanted to make a smart investment that is early and is totally undervalued at the moment, that is the one spot in the Axie universe that is still completely undervalued. The Axis token, I think, is sitting at about 50 cents. And it will definitely be interesting to see what happens with that over the next couple of months. If I had extra, my point is, if I had extra money lying around right now, that's where I would be putting it. I think that the land market is still, it shot up, right? You know, we're talking about pieces of land that I bought for 0.05 Ethereum now being valued at 0.4 to 0.5. You know, that was a huge jump for the land market that took place in the last couple of months. There's also Mystic Axies, which took a huge leap in value the last couple of months. And the only thing that we have not seen a huge leap in value with is the Axis token, you know, as far as that game is concerned. And I wouldn't invest in something like SLP because, yep, AXS, that's right. I wouldn't invest in something like SLP because it's something that doesn't have a cap. There's always going to be more SLP minted as people play and earn it through the game. There is a cap, however, on Access. And I would, you know, I think that the white paper would probably be a good thing to look at. They talk about the white paper. They talk about Access and the way that Axie Infinity shards are going to play out through the Axie Infinity universe. I'll share that in general right now. Also, humble brag, if you go down to the community tab and you scroll down, my ugly mug is covering most of it. Here's the Axie Infinity tattoo. Here's the Axie Infinity musical. Here's a Axie Infinity rap I did early on. So, you know, it's kind of cool to be a part of the history of the game in that capacity. But definitely check out the white paper and definitely read up on Access. The Engine project is trying to help facilitate that. If you get Engine back NFT via game, you don't want to keep it, you can always melt, burn it, Engine coins. So, you know, layer 2 solutions is also an interesting kind of topic in this space. And I got burned really bad on the Loom network as a layer 2 solution. So if you are on the Axie Infinity website and you're playing around, let me see here really quick. And let's just say you're looking around the market, wherever the hell. I got so many damn tabs up. So let's just say you're playing around the market. Currently the Axie Infinity marketplace is run on the Loom network. So when buying land or items, that is all you know, without gas transactions. You can do that through the marketplace. Axie are still tied to the Ethereum blockchain, but Axie Infinity is actually in the middle of working on their own personal layer 2 solution, and that is going to be called Ronin, and that is actually right now currently being tested with validators on, I believe, test network. And so that is what the Axie team has dedicated most of this last year to, is developing their own layer 2 solution, which I think is particularly extremely interesting for the company that owns Axie Infinity. It's called Sky Mavis. And if their layer 2 solution works really well for their game, I could easily see them, leasing that out to other game companies that are trying to build NFT and blockchain games. So that is going to be really exciting to see how that all pans out. But like I said, I got really burned on the Loom Network situation. I don't know who's familiar with Loom Network, but when Axie, turned to Loom Network and said that they were going to be moving to that chain, I invested heavily, and I was a validator, and I locked up my tokens for a year. I'm still unlocking those tokens from the validator, and they are basically worthless now. So I'm just super I will say OpenSea is actually in the middle of transitioning to Matic, and from what I understand, OpenSea or Matic just has a much more sound team, and they're much more driven to accomplish what needs to be done for layer 2. But until I see everything working in full blown action, I'm left a skeptic because of how bad I got burned. What's your favorite non-art and non-game NFT use case? So there are other sorts of use cases like ticketing systems. So NFTs as tickets, which I think is really interesting. What is my favorite? I don't know that I have a really good answer for that, because those are my two favorite things. I mean, collectibles, games, and art tie into all of the things that I was interested in the real world, but turns them into verifiable digital assets, on the blockchain. So that kind of covers it for me. I'm kind of interested to maybe listen to a few of these conversations in the future, because it seems like people in this group use blockchains and the blockchain in other capacities. Like, I always thought like the blockchain, as far as verifying real world artwork, would also be interesting. Like, imagine like a QR code on the back of the Mona Lisa, and that whenever the Mona Lisa transferred hands over the years, so did that token ownership, and you could actually trace ownership of real world assets through the blockchain over time. Like, I always thought that was a really kind of interesting use case for the blockchain. And that same kind of philosophy, I think, can be applied in many ways. We definitely could have used, what if NFTs were how we voted, or blockchain is how we voted this last election, where you're given one vote, and it's verified on the blockchain. So I think blockchain technology in general will be interesting to watch as things continue to develop. Notice Marvel cards had switched to Matic. How will it change over? Work when transitioning to this Matic, that is. I don't want to talk unfortunately, too much about the Matic transition, just because I'm not. Well, not like I said, I'm just starting. I'm not 100% cleared on what I'm able to talk about. But I saw a demo today, and it is going to drastically change the user experience in very positive ways. That will, I think, just continue to break down barriers for new users, which is the face, that is the problem the face faces in general, is accessibility, ease. When I went to purchase my first CryptoKitty, it took me 3 days from the point that I first purchased crypto and learned how to use my MetaMask wallet and learned how to be knowledgeable of the gas price fluctuations, and took me 3 days to buy my first cat. So, I mean, that's a huge barrier to entry that I think most people would probably just give up on. and I'm sure there have been frustrated people that have given up on it. And the more we can break down these barriers to entry, I think the wider we will ultimately see the audience be. This bull run that we're currently, in the middle of is obviously providing exposure for the whole space in a new way once again. And it will be interesting to see what comes of all of this.
Okay. So Buy Homes is talking. Maybe there's one more.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for having me. That was kind of, I hope that was nice for everyone to get a little exposure to the space and what's going on. Like I said, if anyone has any specific questions or anything they'd like to talk about, feel free to reach out. It certainly is it's a space that you could talk about for hours.
Thank you very much for coming. It was a fantastic presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. One quick note to everybody who's still listening, make sure that you always keep your wits about you. There are quite a few scammers in this space, and we only say this because sometimes people do come into Discord and impersonate a member like Cloudwhite or me asking for money or some kind of something to be sent. Please do not send anything. Nobody will ever ask you for money. Just if you have any if you want to ask in general chat to make sure everything's on the up and up, please do. We're here to help. One more thing, if you have not received your POAP because I was sending them manually and that was a bad idea, please go into the Crypto Chat Links channel at the top left and post POAP, and I will send you one eventually. These are proof of attendance protocol tokens, and they're pretty cool little things you can show off in the future to say that you've been to a conference or you came to a chat like this, just like a little merit badge. Yeah, so thank you all for coming, and thank you again, Cloudwhite. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's fun. I'm really excited. I hope that we continue to see Wisconsin move forward into more kind of tech forward spaces. And no offense to any farmers out there, but I don't think milking cows is getting it done anymore.
All right, guys. Well, we will probably have a lot more events like this in the future. So if you want to keep up, please follow the Meetup channel. And as always, the Discord is always open if you want to chat. And we do have our crypto chats every other week. So feel free to stop in. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, later, guys. Don't hesitate to reach out. Any questions? I'm always here. If you're looking to get your collection set up on OpenSea, happy to help with that. Also helpful or happy to verify anyone's collection when they're ready to do so. We can get you verified on there for selling NFTs.